There's a saying that I've come to believe deeply: failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of the journey. I didn't always understand this concept. For a long time, failure felt like the end of the road, a signal that I wasn't good enough, smart enough, or capable of achieving my goals. But life has a way of teaching us lessons, even when we don't want to learn them. Looking back, some of the most valuable lessons I've ever learned came from my biggest failures. In fact, it was my biggest failure that eventually became the catalyst for my success. Hi, it's me, Dr. Ekpo Otu again, presenting a true story about the lessons I learned from failure and how it shaped my path to success, titled How My Biggest Failure Became My Greatest Teacher, The Stumbling Block. Several years ago, I embarked on a project that I was passionate about. It was an ambitious endeavor, something I had poured my heart and soul into for months. I had a grand vision, and I believed that everything would fall into place because I was determined and committed. But as I moved forward, things began to unravel. There were setbacks, unexpected challenges, obstacles I couldn't foresee. And no matter how hard I tried, the project kept failing. I couldn't understand it. I had worked so hard. I felt defeated, frustrated, and embarrassed. I was asking myself, why isn't this working? What went wrong? And then the worst part happened. I had to let go of the project. I had to walk away. It felt like failure in every sense of the word. I was devastated. I felt like I had wasted months, maybe even years of my life. I felt like I had let myself down, and worse, I had let others down. Failure, for me, felt like the end of the road. The moment of reflection. After a few weeks of sulking and questioning myself, I decided to step back and reflect on the experience. I thought about all the things that went wrong and what I could have done differently. At first, I was focused on the mistakes, the things I had done wrong. But then a thought came to me: what if this failure wasn't the end? What if it was a lesson in disguise? I started to dig deeper. I realized that failure is not the final chapter. It's merely part of the process. It was my chance to learn, grow, and refine my approach. I had to stop looking at failure as something shameful or defeatist and instead view it as an opportunity to improve. The learning process. I went back to the drawing board and asked myself some critical questions. What went wrong? What could I have done differently? How can I apply what I've learned to my next attempt? Through this process, I gained clarity. I realized that my failure wasn't caused by a lack of effort. It was caused by a lack of strategy. I hadn't fully prepared, and I hadn't anticipated the challenges that came my way. I learned that success doesn't come just from hard work. It also requires planning, flexibility, and adaptability. I also learned the importance of perseverance. Failure didn't mean I had to quit. It meant I had to rethink my approach and try again. Turning failure into a stepping stone. A few months later, I launched a similar project, this time with a new mindset. I approached it with a renewed sense of purpose, but more importantly, I approached it with the lessons from my failure in hand. I had learned to be more patient, more thoughtful, and more strategic. I also learned to embrace feedback from others and use it to refine my approach. This time, things were different. The project was successful, not because I was lucky, not because the stars aligned, but because I had learned from the past and applied those lessons. I took failure and transformed it into the very foundation of my success. Wisdom from the Bible. The righteous man falls 7 times and rises again. Proverbs 24:16. For though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again, but the wicked stumble when calamity strikes. Proverbs 24:16. We know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. Romans 5:3-4. The Bible teaches us that failure is not the end of the road. It's part of the journey. The key is to rise again, learn from the experience, and keep moving forward with wisdom and perseverance. What this story must teach us: failure is not the end, it's part of the process. Every setback is a chance to learn and grow. You don't need to be perfect to succeed, you just need to be willing to keep trying. Success is built on the lessons you learn from failure. Perseverance, strategy, and a positive mindset are the keys to turning failure into success. To everyone facing failure, if you're experiencing failure or setbacks right now, know this: failure is not a reflection of your worth. It's a chance for you to reevaluate, learn, and adapt. It's not a dead end. It's a lesson that will bring you closer to the success you're aiming for. Don't let failure define you. Let it teach you. Let's wrap it up. What lesson have you learned from a past failure? Share your thoughts below and encourage others to embrace failure as a stepping stone to success. Tag someone who needs a reminder that failure is just the beginning of growth. Follow me for more stories that will empower you to use every setback as a setup for your comeback. Failure is never fatal. It's simply the opportunity to begin again, this time more intelligently. See you again tomorrow. Dr. Ekpo Otu.